Hey guys, John Soda here, back again doing another movie review, and today we'll be reviewing Back to the Future Part 2. Now, Back to the Future Part 2 is directed by Robert Zemeckis and features Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Lee Thompson, Thomas F. Wilson, Donald Fullilove, Elizabeth Shue, and James Tolkien. So, the plot of Back to the Future 2 is that it's set right after the events of the first one. Like, it starts right where the first one ended, uh, with uh, Emmett Brown having making a flying car with the DeLorean, and then he's like, we have to go back to the future. It's not you have to worry about. It's your kids, and then like that's how it begins. And then like they have a flying car, and they're like, where we are going, we don't need roads. So yeah, that's how it begins. And then what didn't show up in the first one was the old was Biff looking at the flying DeLorean take off for time travel, and he's like, okay, so yeah, and then that's where it shows, and then Biff becomes a way more. Biff has a way more huge part in this movie than he did in the first one. So yeah, and then they go back in time because his son, Marty's son, is like facing troubles as like his age, and like he's like becoming like sort of like not dangerous, but like kind of like gets in a lot of trouble. Yeah, that's the word. Like he gets in so much trouble. So yeah, he so yeah, and so like they're trying to like fix that, and then he goes to jail later on, and so they're trying to fix that, but like. They end up fixing that, but once they do, they buy a sports almanac from that time, and the time they went to was 30 years after, which was 2015. But this 2015 does not look like our 2015 that was in the past. It's like a 2015 like futurized and like flying cars and everything. So yeah, uh, and what was I gonna say? So yeah, once they do that, Marty buys a sports almanac so he can know like what the coming events of like sports, so he can like get a lot of money. But then Emmett Brown like really refuses, and he's like, "No, Marty, you mustn't interfere with the future. Do not." And then he just throws away the sports almanac. But while all that is happening, the old Biff was stalking them. And before I get to that, I forgot to mention that Marty's girlfriend like did do all this with them too, cause Emmett Brown was like, I had a time machine. I didn't want anyone to know that to see that there was a time machine with a lot of questions. So yeah. So like, what else was there? So yeah, but once that happens, once she gets and goes to 2015 with them, they just leave her to sleep. So yeah. Let me think. What else is there? Oh yeah, so the old Biff was stalking them, and so like he hears everything they were saying, that they're from the past and all of that. So like he gets the sports almanac, and then yeah, so he gets the sports almanac, and once he gets the sports almanac, Marty and Marty and Emmett Brown realize that Jennifer is gone, because like they left her sleeping like on one of the trash things. So yeah, and then the cops find her, and they take her home. They take her home to Marty's home. Marty's new home. So like the older Marty. So yeah, they take her there, and so yeah, and so Marty and Emmett Brown are trying to find her, and so they do. And once they go to the older Marty's house, the old Biff gets the time machine, and he time travels to way back to 1955, when he was younger, a lot younger than he really is, to give the sports almanac to the younger Biff, so he could make a better life than this Biff had. So yeah, he gives the sports almanac to him. So as once he gives the sports almanac to him, he tells him okay, so do not lose this at all. This tells you all the things of sports, like all the betting and all of that. You want to make big money, this is how you do it. So yeah, he tells him to do that, and so Biff just does that for so long, and he becomes rich as soon as he hits 20. So yeah, and so like he becomes rich, and then he makes the I'll get into that in a bit. So like he becomes rich, and so like once that happens, once the old Biff comes back to 2015, he just vanishes from existence. So yeah, and then like Marty and Emmett go back to 1985 with Jennifer, Marty's girlfriend. So yeah, they go back with her, and then like because they find her, and then like yeah, and then like, but like before I get into that, I just want to say Jennifer was like kind of like looking at what the old Marty was doing, which was pretty cool. So yeah, so like yeah, and so like they go back to 1985, but it's completely different the way 1985 is now. Like it is so different. Like the Marty doesn't even own his house anymore. Like the house that he used to stay in, he doesn't own it anymore. Other people own it. So he goes to his house and like he sees that new people have owned it, and he's just really freaked out about it. So yeah, and so once that happens, he just leaves. He's just really scared, and then like he sees that like his old principal at the school like is like crazy now, and he's a gun owner. So yeah, he owns a gun, and like he has like grenades all around him. So yeah, and then like once that happens, like he just realizes that 1985 is so fucked up now, and so like he looks at an old newspaper. It is November 15th, 1985, and then like he's like, it can't be. And so like he goes to the city, and like it is completely trash. It's like the apocalypse happened already. Like the apocalypse is happening in that town, and like there are so many crazy people. There's so much motorcycle riding. His siblings. It doesn't show what happens to his siblings, but it shows that like his parents are completely changed now. Like his father is dead. Like his father died. Because he got shot because Biff shot him. His father died, and then his mom like is fatter now, and she grew boobs. So yeah, and like she lives with Biff. Like she's married to Biff now. Like she's married to Biff because of his money. So yeah, and like they live in this building. They live in like a really fancy building, and like Biff is just really rich, and he owns Lorraine, and he just treats her like a possession. So yeah. So yeah, like this whole 1985 is so fucked up. So yeah, and like literally Marty has to live through this. So yeah, and then like Marty ends up telling Biff about the sports almanac. I mean, before that, Emmett Brown like invites Marty to his house, and like he tells him everything like about the past. Like somewhere in the past, a time loop has like the present. Somewhere in the past, it's like really changed. Like in the future, interfere with the past, and then that's what made this 1985 a lot more fucked up. And then there was a magazine of Biff when he was younger, and it shows the sports almanac like right in his pocket. So yeah, and then after that, Marty goes and talks to Biff about the sports almanac, and then Biff tells him everything. But then he's like, well, the old man also told me that if there would be a scientist that would question me about this, and never in a million years would I think it'd be you. So yeah, and then like from there, like he wants to kill Marty. Like he's trying to kill Marty, and then he's like he has a pistol on him, and it's the same pistol that killed George. So yeah, so like he's trying to shoot him, but then Marty's like, no, what about the police? What the police say about this? And he's like, you idiot, I own the police, and all of that. And then like he orders him, and then Marty's like, no, I'll just kill myself. I'll just fall off this roof. And then he's like, well, okay, suit yourself. And then he actually does that. And then Biff's like, well, holy shit, he actually did it. Yeah, that part was kind of funny, actually. And then, like, Marty, what was I gonna say? Yeah, Marty, like, gets saved by the flying DeLorean, and then when that happens, like, they decide to go back to 1955 and fix that time loop. So, yeah, that's basically the whole plot of Back to the Future 2. Now, do I like Back to the Future 2? Yeah, I love Back to the Future 2, actually. This movie is actually pretty good, actually. Like, it's a lot better than the sequels to some of my other favorite movies, like Zombieland and Mr. Mercedes. So, yeah, this movie is actually really cool, actually. Like, this is a damn good sequel to Back to the Future. So yeah, what else is there? So yeah, this was just a really cool sequel to Back to the Future, and it had the exact same, not the exact same tone, but it had a very similar tone to the first one, and it was really cool. So yeah, let me think. Let me think. What else is there? So yeah, this movie's really good. But my biggest complaint with it is that there's just a lot there. Not a lot, but there's just a bit too much happening all at once. That's my only flaw with it, is that there's just a bit too much happening in this movie. Like this movie kind of feels like two movies actually, to be honest. Like one movie being traveling to 2015, and then another movie being a fucked up time loop situation. So yeah, this movie just feels like it could have been like separated into two movies actually, and it could have made four movies actually. So yeah, that's my only flaw with this movie. But other than that, it's still really good. Like that's my only flaw with this movie. So yeah, it's still really good. The characters are all really cool. So yeah, the characters are still really cool in this movie. Marty's still really cool. Like Marty's used to this time traveling shit with Emmett Brown. So like he's used to it now. So like whenever they go time traveling, he's not confused. I mean, he is a smidge confused at times to how the future has changed, but he gets very used to it. He just gets very used to it right away. So yeah, he's just really used to time traveling now. So yeah, I just really like Marty in this movie, but he's not as awesome as he was in the first one, as like skateboarding a lot. Oh, he actually does do another skateboarding scene, which was also really cool. So yeah, but my only flaw with him is he doesn't like play the guitar again in the movie. Yeah, that's my other complaint with it. Like he doesn't play the guitar that much anymore. But like yeah, but other than that, he's still really cool. I love that scene where he skateboards with the bullies again. And another thing, this Back to the Future trilogy brings back a lot of stuff that were in the first one and in the previous one back to the sequels. So yeah, and yeah, and that's actually like I have no problem with it at all. It's just there, but I have no problem with it at all. Like I don't really complain with it like some people do. It's just I don't really have a problem with it. But like yeah, a lot of the stuff from the first one does come back from this one. Like Marty like skateboarding like with the bullies. But what's more cool about it is that instead of skateboards, they use hoverboards, and like Marty is just as used with hoverboards as he was with skateboards. So yeah, I just love how like he gets the hang of hoverboards right away, and that scene was just really cool where like the bullies chase him with the hoverboard. So yeah. But cause like the bullies think that Marty is the same Marty from their present, so yeah. And these bullies are not Biff and all of that. They're Biff's grandson Griff, I think that was his name, or Gruff, something like that. So yeah, like he has like a whole group of people, and yeah, that whole scene was just really cool. And like Marty even gets stuck on the water, and then he gets stuck on the water, so he can't like move the hoverboard on water. So yeah, and then he just like falls in the water, so he won't get like attacked by the bullies, and then like the bullies end up crashing on the wall, I think, or like on cars or something like that. I forgot what they crashed into, but like that whole scene was really cool actually. So yeah. Let me think. Yeah, Marty was still really cool in this movie, and you can really tell that he doesn't want anything bad to happen to his kids, and you can tell that he is really fucked up with this time situation, and he really wants to fix that time loop. So yeah. Uh, let me think. Let me think. Is there anything else I should say? Oh yeah. So yeah, that you can really tell like his character like really upgraded from the first one. So yeah. Uh, Dr. Emmett Brown was still really cool in this movie. He was a little more upgraded than he was in the first one. He was actually really cool in this movie. Like it's really cool to see him like knowing that something what his creation like works now, and him being used to using it and all of that. So yeah, he was really cool in this movie, and I love like how he looks kind of the same as he did in the first one. So yeah, and like yeah, this movie was just like really cool with Emmett Brown, and like I love how he was such a genius with like his like time traveling stuff, and he had money from like every time traveling. Like he had money from 2015, he had money from 1985 and all of that, 1955. So yeah, that was a really cool touch to it too. So yeah, Emmett Brown was just really cool in this movie, and I just love how like he knows not to interfere with the past. So yeah, I just love how he's just really smart with the time machine. So yeah. Let me think. Is there anything else about him? Let me think. Yeah, and you can really tell that he really cares for time, and he really cares for the world too. And yeah, and like he even knows that like was interfering with the past could destroy the world, like it did with Biff. So yeah, yeah. He's just really cool in this movie. So yeah. Let me think. Is there anything else about him? I think that's it. Yeah, Biff, he has a way more bigger role than he did in the first one. Yeah, he has a bigger role than he did in the first one, actually. Like, he's actually, like, the main villain to this movie, actually. He's the antagonist of this movie, most definitely. So, yeah, all the scenes with him like having the sports almanac was really cool actually. Like the whole time loop situation was actually a really cool idea actually. Like an alternate timeline was actually really cool, and they handled it the greatest way they can in this movie, and it was really cool. So yeah, just Biff was just really evil in this movie, and he really turned the town into a shithole. So yeah, uh, it's just really cool. Like he becomes kind of like Donald Trump actually, and he kind of looks like him too. Well, Donald Trump did not turn the world into a shithole, thank God for that. But yeah, he becomes a little similar to Donald Trump actually. So yeah, just Biff was just really cool. So yeah, yeah, and like I just love how like we get a lot more backstory to him too in this movie actually as a kid actually. He has a way big, like I said, a way bigger role in this movie than in the first one and any of them actually. So yeah, this movie is definitely Biff's movie. So yeah, I just love like old Biff too. How he remembers that DeLorean from when he saw it leaving in 1985. So yeah, and you can really tell that he wants to be rich and all of that, and you can really tell that he wants to like fix the time loop and all of that for his perspective. So yeah, yeah, and you can just really tell that Biff like is really mean with the world. So yeah. Yeah, so like he really like treats his like has his money for evil as well. So yeah, let me think. Let me think. Yeah, so like Biff was just really cool in this movie, and I love when they go back to 1955. Like the last act of this movie takes place in 1955, and then like it's just like archive footage of the first movie, like showing like archive footage of the first movie, like them, but like them reliving it again and trying really hard not to interfere with their past selves because it could destroy the world. So yeah, those scenes were really cool too, and we actually saw a lot of backstory with Biff in those scenes. Like we saw that he had a very overprotective mom, and like a mom that like always tells him to do his chores and all that, and a mom that just like really annoys him too. Like he's just like Biff, remember to take out the trash and all of that, or like Biff, remember to like remember to get your car back and all of that. So yeah, he gets a lot more backstory in this movie, and like I just love that scene where like he's picking on the kids. Like there's these kids like that are playing ball, and like he takes the ball away from them, and he's just like bouncing it and all of them. Their kids are like, give us our ball back, give us our ball back, and then they're just whining at him, and then he's like, wait, what? This ball? And they're like, yes, and then he's like, okay, well come, we'll get it, and then he throws it on like a balcony. He throws it on a balcony in someone else's house, and that scene was actually pretty messed up, but it was kind of funny too. So yeah, and then we see like Biff talking with the older version of him. So yeah, and like I love the scene where like I love how he's just holding it in his pocket all the time, and then like in the dance he's like holding it in his pocket, and I love where like Emmett and Marty are trying to take the sports almanac from him, but like he's just like, hey you, it's Calvin Klein, because like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention in my Back to the Future review that it was funny that they would call that Lorraine and Biff would call Marty Calvin Klein throughout the entire movie, and then like it was till the end, Lorraine knew that like he just likes being called Marty, but like she still liked calling him Calvin. So yeah, that was pretty funny too. So yeah, let me think. So yeah, and I love how like yeah, back to the scenes with them with Biff. I really like Marty trying to take the sports almanac from Biff, but like Biff's like trying really hard not to take it from him. Like he's just like, "What the hell are you doing, dude? Like, what are you doing? Stop taking my sports almanac and all of that." Yeah, those scenes are really cool actually. So yeah, let me think. Yeah, Biff was just a really cool character in this movie. So yeah, Jennifer, Marty's girlfriend, she did have some of a character role in this movie. Yeah, she was really cool in this movie, and I love how like in 2015 you see that older you see older Marty's life, and like you see that he's working in this job and all of that, and he FaceTimes people through like a wall and all of that. So yeah, those things were pretty cool. And like Jennifer's just stalking him, like she's just stalking him, like trying to like figure out a way to get out of the house without getting caught, but she's just still listening to what they're saying and all of that. So yeah, all those things are really cool. And like I love where like she sees like the older versions of the family, like old Lorraine and old George. So yeah, and I love those scenes, like how much the homes are upgraded now, that like you like the homes like have like you say something to the home, and like it gives you something like, hey, we want a Pepsi, and like a Pepsi comes out of the table. And yeah, those things are really cool. And I love that pizza thing that from Pizza Hut. Like it's like this small pizza, and then they put it in the oven, and then like once it's done cooking, it becomes this big normal size pizza. And yeah, that was actually really cool actually. Yeah, so like homes were really, that the way the future looked like in this movie was really cool actually. Like yeah, they did the greatest way they could to make the future. So yeah, it just looked really cool, the future. So yeah, and then I love when like Jennifer like runs into like the older version of her, and then like the older version's like, I'm young, and then she's like, I'm old, like they say it at the same time. And that scene was really funny. And then they fade again at that scene. So yeah, that scene was pretty funny. So yeah. Yeah, Jennifer was pretty good in this movie. And I forgot to mention too that like when Biff comes back from the past, a year fire note gets put to Marty, and then like she takes it, and then that becomes a bit of a role in the third movie, in the last movie. So yeah, and like that, I'll get to that once I get to Back to the Future Part 3. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So she was pretty good in this movie too. And the teacher had a little bit of a role too. The teacher from the first, not the teacher, the principal of the high school. He had a little bit of a role in this movie, like him like being fucked up from 1985, and then in the past, like him just like bullying. He like really hates Biff, and that's another thing too. Biff would always get hated by the teachers too, and like yeah, and like the principal would always hate on Biff and all of that, and he took the sports almanac from him, but like it was a fake one. It was just like disguised as Ooh La La, porn magazine. So yeah, and then like the teacher just like throws it away after that. He doesn't even give a shit for that. So yeah, yeah. So like yeah, I really like the scenes with the principal too. So yeah. And I love where like in that scene, like Mari's trying to like take the sports almanac from him, but then he got tricked too, and like his fingers get snapped by the chair, because like the teacher puts the chair back, because like he's under the desk, and then like his fingers like get really snapped. So yeah, that scene was pretty cool. So yeah, yeah, all the characters in this movie were still really cool. So yeah, the actors all did an amazing job. Yeah, I loved all the actors in this movie, but one actor that didn't return in the movie that I really wanted to return in this movie, but he was in it but with archive footage though, was Crispin Glover as George McFly. He didn't return in this movie because like he wanted to come back, but like he wanted them to like give him like so much money for it though, because like in the first one they didn't give him as like the money he wanted. So like in this one he wanted to give him the same amount of money but like more. But like they disagreed to that, so like he didn't want to come back for that. So that's really like why he didn't want to come back. And so like he ended up suing the production company from putting archive footage without his permission. So like yeah, Crispin Glover as an actor was kind of a jerk back in the day, to be honest. So yeah, like, but I really wish he would have came back in this movie. It would have been really cool if he came back. So like, that's why they killed him off in the second act of the movie with the fucked up time loop, because they didn't know what to do with his character, so they just killed him off. So yeah, but it would have been really really cool to see what he would have done in that time. So yeah. All the actors, they all did an amazing job. So yeah, the soundtrack was still really cool this time around. So yeah, the soundtrack was still the same as the first one, but they used some new ones, and it was still really cool. So yeah, and like Michael Jackson, even like there was even some scenes with Michael Jackson too, and like those scenes were actually pretty funny actually. Yeah, and the Beat It song was in this movie, so yeah, I really liked that. So yeah. Let me think. This really was a comedy too at times, just like the first one, and it was pretty funny too at times. So yeah. Let me think. The scenery was still pretty good in this movie. It was still amazing. Yeah. The pacing. Now this is where it really flops. The pacing was is still pretty good in this movie. It really felt like beginning, middle, and end. Like it felt a movie just like that. But my one flaw with it is just it's too. It's like an hour and 40 minutes long, but it goes by really slow. Like it actually does go by a lot slower than the first one did, and that's a really big flaw for the pacing. So yeah, yeah, this movie did have a heart in making. Robert Zemeckis coming back as the director was really good, and like he really did have a big part in making this movie. So yeah, this movie was very suspenseful too with the fucked up time loop situation, and it worked really well. So yeah, to rate this movie, wait, before I get to the rating, should I talk about anything else that I like about in this movie? Um, Let me think. Yeah, so like I really liked all the scenes with Biff owning the town and like him abusing the wife all the time. Oh yeah, this was a really funny moment too, where like in the past in 1955, what Biff like tells like Lorraine, like, Lorraine, you don't have anyone else to go to dance with you, would you? And he was just being a creeper with her. And she's like, well, I'm already going. Sorry, I'm going with Calvin Klein. And then he's like, oh, Calvin Klein, the man's a stiff. And then she's like, she's like, Biff, I'll never go out with you ever, even if you had $1 million. And then she kicks him. And then actually later on, she actually does date him if he had because he had $1 million. Yeah, that scene was pretty funny. So yeah, so yeah, that was a really funny moment too. So yeah. Just this movie was just pretty entertaining too. It was really enjoyable, but it just went by a lot slower than the first one. But yeah, it was still really enjoyable. So to rate this movie, I'll rate it an A minus. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Just not as good as the first one, but it's still really good. So yeah, bye and see you all in the next review.